Hey everybody, Ross Madden here. Welcome to the show. I am doing independent reporting for my organization, the Truther Think Tank. We report on the deep state and expose them on exposethedeepstate.com, which you should check out. Today we are going over Trump's economic accomplishments because he just gave this great speech.
Now it's my great honor to welcome you back to the White House to celebrate 6 months of new jobs, bigger paychecks, and keeping more of your hard-earned money where it belongs, in your pocket or wherever else you want to spend it.
We're going to interlace that speech in with my notes. I took some great notes about what I thought about the speech, and I'm just going to go over what I thought, and I will weave in his clips so that what I'm saying is backed up. He didn't get a single Democrat vote for this legislation.
Unfortunately, every single Democrat in the House and Senate, that's right, every single one voted against lower taxes for the hard-working Americans.
Trump calls this the hashtag tax cuts, hashtag Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And I think hashtags are really important. Whenever the president pushes a hashtag, we should use that hashtag. That way everyone can find all of the information about that tax cut. And he's going to have multiple tax cuts. That's why we're not calling this the Trump tax cut. Hashtag Trump tax cut. He gives it a specific name for this tax cut. Hashtag Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act really pushes for 4 things. It's pro-jobs, pro-workers, pro-family, and pro-American. And the very first thing is it nearly doubled the standard deduction, which is pro-worker.
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act slashed income taxes all across the board. We nearly doubled the standard deduction.
That's just huge for workers. It nearly doubled the child tax credit, pro-family.
And did double the child tax credit, which Ivanka wanted very much, I will tell you.
That's big for families. If you want to start a family, grow your family, now you're incentivized to have children, which we really badly need in America. So I'm really happy that Trump is pushing a pro-family agenda. I hope to start a family someday. We just had Father's Day, still not a father. Would love to be a father someday, so I can celebrate Father's Day and raise children of my own and have a happy family. So I appreciate Trump's pro-family tax credit.
We lowered the corporate tax rate so the American worker finally has a level playing field.
He lowered the corporate tax rate. That's pro-jobs.
We cut taxes for businesses of all sizes to make this the best place on earth to start a business, to invest.
And then all of that money, all of those corporations that were going overseas are coming back to America.
We have billions and billions of dollars of additional revenue coming in.
And that's more taxes that we can collect, even though we lowered the corporate tax rate. So that's pro-American. So like I said, pro-jobs, pro-worker, pro-family, pro-American, the big 4 that Trump is pushing with this tax cut.
Our country finally has a tax system that is pro-jobs, pro-worker, pro-family, and pro-American.
Another thing he talks about is expensing, 1-year expensing.
We allowed companies to deduct every single penny of investment in new equipment, and it's called expensing. It's the biggest secret in the plan. It's 1-year expensing. Nobody thought we'd ever see that.
If you start a company for 1 year, you're allowed to put your equipment expenses down as fully deductible business expenses. That's going to be huge for starting businesses. That's going to be huge for hiring new workers and starting small businesses. Small businesses are the backbone of America, and it always has been the case, so we really got to support the small businesses. And one way to do that is to support small farmers who have been crushed by the estate tax, otherwise known as the death tax.
We greatly reduced the burden of the unfair estate tax, commonly known as the death tax. You know, that's such a big thing, and most farms and most small business will not pay any estate tax or death tax anymore. Such a big.
When a farmer family dies and they try to pass down the farm to their children, that is taxed out. The Wall Street has put in for passing wealth down generations if you don't have it all locked up in real estate. Like, you can gift certain amounts every single year to your children, and there are ways you can pass down wealth without it being heavily taxed. But if a farmer has a lot of their wealth locked up in the land, then a lot of it gets taxed, and there's not much they can do about it. So I'm really grateful for the farmers. The small business farmers are really going to get helped out by the reduction of the death tax, the reduction of the estate tax. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act repealed the individual mandate for Obamacare.
The individual mandate, how about that one? That's not a very good one. That's where you have the privilege of paying a fortune in order to not pay to have bad health care. Think of it.
This is huge for people like me, who just turned 26, kicked off of the parents' plan, and we were going to have to be forced to overpay to not have bad health insurance. So Trump says it better than anybody. I'll just let him take the floor.
So in other words, you pay a lot of money not to have health care, so it's not working too good. We got rid of it. That's a big thing. We got no credit, but that's okay.
Trump talks about how we are the biggest economy in the world by far. I actually just read a article in Zero Hedge saying that the vast majority of the earnings of the entire S&P is done by just the top 4 or 5 companies. And we are a very top-heavy country right now. So that's why I'm talking about the small businesses. We have to push small businesses because it only takes a couple of these big corporations to fail, and they're working with very thin margins. They know that they're teetering on the edge. Trump said even Amazon, if Amazon didn't have all the subsidies from the U.S. taxpayer and the U.S. Postal Service, then Amazon, even, the #1 company in America, would go under. That's dangerous. So, and they're 37% of the S&P's earnings, apparently, according to this Zero Hedge chart, which I will pull up right here for you guys to look at. We have the biggest economy by far. Our manufacturing has never been more optimistic.
In terms of value or worth, we've created $7 trillion. We're the largest economy in the world by far. We're almost double the size of China and far bigger than anybody else.
And all these companies are coming back, which they'll come back, they'll bring money back, and all this spending is really going to help. If we can keep building factories, if we can get manufacturing back in America, that will really help. So 2018, 2019 are going to be big years for repatriating wealth back to America, and hopefully this protects us from any potential downturns the economy may be seeing as we have trouble in retail, because we are having trouble in retail. Amazon's taking over the retail sector. Apple is said to bring $350 billion back to America in the next couple of years.
And as you know, Apple announced they're going to spend $350 billion, not million. I would have been happy with that too. Hundreds of billions of dollars are coming back from overseas. Over $300 billion was just repatriated into our country in the first quarter alone. Think of that, $300 billion.
Foxconn, this Chinese tech company, is set to build a mega factory in America, in Wisconsin, I believe, worth $50 billion. It's going to employ 15,000 Wisconsins. That's huge. And the Chinese guy, the CEO said it wouldn't have happened if Trump hadn't have become president, and he called up Trump specifically and said, "This is gonna happen. I promise I will do this." And it was a very proud day for him when he got to announce that he successfully kept his promise of bringing all of these 15,000 jobs to America and $50 billion to America.
So I promised the first time I met President Trump, just before you became official president.
Right.
I think I was the first CEO came to celebrate you.
It's true. It's true.
And I said $50 billion investment and 50,000 jobs to the United States. Because I said, no, I couldn't have decided such a thing before this new president. Because I said, now I see the passion, I see the opportunity, I'm more energized. So I made a voluntarily promise. And I said, I have one more thing to promise, which is Foxconn. I'm so happy today that my promise came to true. So this is a great historical moment because I think United States did not have the ecosystem for new technology last 20 years. And now this is the beginning of new ecosystem of high-tech manufacturing back into the United States.
So Trump is bringing wealth from overseas to America, and that's making America great again. He says the jobless claims are at a 44-year low.
Unemployment claims are at a 44-year low. That's a good one.
Our jobless rate may be at a 44-year low, but our employment rate is not. Our employment has been way down. If you look at the chart that I will bring up right here, you can see for yourself that employment has been down since the late 90s, early 2000s, and we just have not recovered. So hopefully these factories, the extra manufacturing, may actually start to raise the true American employment rate. Donald Trump lets the founder of a chemical company give a short speech, and he talks about how these tax cuts have led to increased revenue, increased R&D space. He's added an addition onto his chemical plant and hired 30 people.
Another American who has used his tax cut to give back to others is Guy Berkebile, president of Guy Chemical in Somerset, Pennsylvania, the great state of Pennsylvania. Incredible place. Guy increased bonuses, raised salaries, and purchased new equipment. Guy has also hired 30 new employees to help meet customer demand, which is actually booming right now, the best he's ever had.
President Trump and the members of Congress who have voted for this tax bill, I can't tell you how much it means to my company and my employees. When I founded my company in 1995, I mortgaged my house 7 times in order to pay for the growth of the company over the next 10, 15 years before the company finally got large enough that it could stand on its own. The money that we are saving from the corporate tax cuts, I have reinvested back into our business and into our employees. We recently just built an addition onto our manufacturing facility in Somerset, Pennsylvania. This addition includes new equipment, a new compounding room, and a new lab for research and development that is 5 times larger than our old lab. This investment in our company has led to a 35% increase in sales over the first quarter of 2018, in addition to the 30 new jobs that we created this year so far.
Donald Trump gets all the credit for this, and it's just great. I know this is anecdotal evidence, but this is an anecdotal evidence for how the employment is coming back to America. Pennsylvania chemical companies had been hurt. I went to school in Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania jobs were drying up, especially in central Pennsylvania. So this is big. This matters. 30 people now have good jobs. That's not a joke job. having a job at a chemical plant, that's a pretty good job. So this is a proud day for this employer. Donald Trump talks about the trade deals that he's been enacting, and these trade deals have been bringing the steel industry back, the aluminum industry back, and the solar panel industry back.
Our steel industry is coming back. Never have they seen anything like what's happened over the last 4 months with steel. They were dumping steel, dumping. All over our land, they were dumping steel. And Georgetown Steel. Georgetown is a wonderful company. Couldn't make it. They closed 4 years ago. They announced, as I literally was getting off the plane, they announced that they're opening up their steel mill. 600 people are employed. Solar panels, 32 plants. It's a new industry, so they weren't old. 32 plants all over the country. 2 were open. The rest had gone out of business. Now those two were in bad shape. Now they're doing great, and they're looking at 10, 11, and even 12 reopenings of solar plants all over the country, and these are really great panels, so the level of quality.
And that's all because of dumping. When China has these subsidized industries like steel, like solar, then we end up having to, we get undercut by these subsidized industries. And we do the same thing to foreign countries. Whatever we subsidize and then sell to other countries, they have trouble producing. So other countries are having trouble farming because we subsidize our farmers so much. That's just something we've got to stop. We should stop subsidizing because subsidies create the dumping, which creates this whole need for a trade war. So start backing the problems up and attacking them at the root, and the root is the subsidies. We've got to stop subsidizing things. Not just our country, all countries should stop taxing to subsidize certain industries because it hurts foreign nations, it hurts trade. We have record low unemployment for blacks, Hispanics. Women are at a pretty close to record low, and this is huge for voting for the 2018 elections because we need these voter blocks, and historically these voter blocks have voted Democrat for terrible reasons. And as soon as Trump gets in office, guess who's getting helped? It's the blacks, it's the Hispanics, it's the women. And I'll be honest, everyone's getting helped. We're just pointing these groups out because they're important. It's important that these groups recognize that they're being helped by Donald Trump, and they should hop on the Trump train, they should get on the MAGA train, and they should vote Trump 2020, and they should pick up a Trump 2020 bumper sticker and slap it on their car and support him outright. Be proud of Trump. He's helping you guys. He's helping everybody out. I'm proud of Donald Trump, so I support Trump 2020. The campaign has begun. Donald Trump is very proud of his $700 billion military spending budget. This is something I am not so proud of, and I know other patriots are not so proud of because the military, the U.S. military, has been overspending, 1, but 2, spending very wastefully, and 3, spending arguably evilly.
We're rebuilding our military. $700 billion we got approved, and $716 billion for the following year. And we hope we never have to use it. But the stronger it gets, the less likely it is that we'll ever have to use it.
When we spend on our military, when we spend on the State Department, the USAID, and that money goes overseas, and we never see it again, there is no transparency when it comes to that money. We have no idea where it goes. And a lot of times it ends up in terrible people's hands, and the projects ends up failed or just lied about, and it gets reported on falsely to Americans, or it doesn't get reported on at all, and we're not checking up on it because this stuff is being done in Haiti, this stuff is being done in Africa, this stuff is being done in Afghanistan, where very few Americans ever, vacation. So we never see that money. We never see those projects being built, and we never see those projects failing, which a lot of them fail. So our military spending has no transparency. Our overseas spending has no transparency. Why don't we spend that money at home on infrastructure? Where's the infrastructure spending bill, the $700 billion infrastructure spending bill? Wouldn't that be amazing? $700 billion for infrastructure. I know that would be a lot like Obama's stimulus package that was also a failed package, but let's spend the money more wisely, and let's spend it in places where we can have oversight. The American military has also spent that money in very evil ways. We spend it supporting what we call rebels, but those rebels have been found out to also go by the name of Al-Qaeda and also go by the name of ISIS and the Free Syrian Army, and these are terrorist groups. It turns out that while we, the United States, trashes foreign countries for being sponsors of terrorism, like we are currently trashing Iran for being a state sponsor of terrorism, it turns out the United States is the #1 largest state sponsor of terrorism without question, hands down. And it's not even close. So why we feel like we can criticize other countries while we supported ISIS. John McCain founded ISIS. I've done a whole report on this. It's on my channel. You can check it out. We need to be honest about what we are doing overseas, and we need to be spending less money on our military and less money overseas. We need to bring that money home, bring those troops home, let foreign countries elect leaders, and let those leaders rule those countries, and not try to topple what we call regimes. It's elected leaders every time we don't get what we want in the Middle East or elsewhere.
And just to finish, many countries are calling, saying, let's negotiate. They were never doing that. They're calling and they want to negotiate, and all we want is fairness. We're going to be the smart country again, not the stupid country that was taken advantage of by everybody.
That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. This is Ross Madden with the Truther Think Tank, bringing you Trump's economic accomplishments. He's really done a lot for America. When you list it all out, he's done a whole lot for the American economy, and we're making America great again one step at a time, and one legislation or deregulation at a time. And Donald Trump is doing it. So I am MAGA. I'm #MAGA. We're making America great again. We're keeping America great. Get on the Trump train, Trump 2020. The campaign has begun. Thank you guys for giving me your time. Tune in later. I'll bring you another report probably tomorrow. It's going to be Trump tweets. I'm going to start reporting on Trump tweets. If you want to make the news, it's super easy. All you got to do is read Trump's tweets and start talking about them. This comes straight out of Trump's tweets. He posted this on his Twitter page. He posted this whole speech that I'm reporting on his Twitter page. So if you want to be an independent reporter, it's very easy. Just open Trump's Twitter feed and start talking about it intelligently. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Ross Madden with the Truther Think Tank. Have a great day, everybody.